So for the island, I worked on all the coding and programming for it, and all the AR interactions. Fun thing about the island is that it's actually made up of two islands. One island's a big island up above, and the other island's a small island below. And the reason why there's two of them is because the small island is just the right size that you see. The problem is it's so small and it moves around that it causes problems with the self AI system that the frog actually follows. So when you tap, the frog actually path finds to where it needs to go. Problem is it can't do that with a motion system, so you have to have a stationary island, hence why we have two islands.
So I was responsible for the initial concept art of the island, in addition to producing the general composition of the island. So I had created the original structure of the island, which Spencer then took over to retopologize. And then once he gave me the finished island, I went through and modeled all the different assets to fulfill it. So I modeled the bridge, the hut, and I modeled a couple different styles of the hut. I modeled the bathhouse, all the different trees, in addition to some rocks and some other small details. I was the main coordinator working with Rebecca and her class at Gooding Middle School. It was a group of STEM. It was a STEM class that we were a part of helping teach, and overall, I think it was a really good experience. We had a series of Zoom lectures during their class periods, informational activities for them to do that were written through PDFs. In addition to Zoom workshops where we would go in and work one-on-one with each student. And from that workshop, we got a lot of different 3D assets that helped go into the 3D lobby that turned out really good. So even though almost every student I believe in that class was new to Blender and new to the concept of 3D modeling, through video tutorials and our activities, they were still able to produce a lot of really good assets. So initially, early on in development, I was responsible for, in combination with Bree, the both of us worked on the mock-ups for the app prototype and how the UI could look, which we ended up shifting away from the kind of original design once we'd gotten further into development and realized the features that we were actually going to include. And so then near the end of development, I had gone through and designed a new UI that was loosely based off the original concept, but that was that utilized more bright colors, larger buttons, and things that I knew were important for to keep in consideration when you're designing an app for kids. So I spent a lot of time working on the color palette and trying to make sure that the shapes and the overall design workflow that I used made sense and was really clear and had clear instructions. Because it's that kind of thing is really important, especially when you're designing an app for kids that probably have short attention spans. And so you want to use bright colors and shapes and clear instructions to keep them engaged at all times.
For the hand washing, that one's kind of interesting. So this was a crash course. Took about 2 weeks to make, and all the assets and all the programming was done within that time. The whole premise was that it was a step-by-step progress, that there wasn't any time limit, so you could go for as long as possible, and the point was finishing. So you got done, you got the points. And so the whole idea is you wanted to get rid of all the dirt and all the soap. But in order to get rid of dirt, you had to make soap. So if you take the soap and you actually scrub off the dirt and put soap on the hands, it allows you to make bubbles, and then through the bubbles, you can then rub your hands together, and it actually makes more bubbles off of that. So you scrub to get off the dirt, and then once you only have bubbles, now you have to wash it off. So you stick it under the sink and you actually rinse off the bubbles. And once you do that, you've won.